afternoon, guys. How are y'all doing?
Doing well.
Man. How are you?
Man, I don't know about you guys, but it has been some kind of hot in Mississippi for the last 7 days. Kind of tell us how your weather's been up there before we get tonight's show rolling.
It's been. I mean, last week we were kind of cool, but this week we've had the humidity come in. It's just it hasn't been like hot like you, but we've had the humidity.
Mm-hmm. We blinked there for a second, but I think we're all right and all good.
We've had some overcast mornings that's really bailed us out, while we've been on the water. That's been nice. Give us some relief from that sun. Give it 2 hours even it's a big deal. Keep that sun off of you.
Yeah, I mean I know 2 days I'd get my truck about 12, 1 o'clock, whatever time we finished up every day, and the truck's reading like 106, 108, and it's last Monday and Tuesday. I really didn't see a lot of people fishing, but the fishing's been so good. I guess the kind of word got out and more people started fishing by the end of the week. But it's been hot, and we're going to go into the subject line softly. But if you're watching, I think it was about 24 or 5 people watching at the moment. Go ahead, hit that 25K crappie connection. Let's get that kind of ball going. Like to see who's all joining us and where you actually watching from tonight. And we've got some exciting news from Tophat Jigs. And I know, Derek, I'm having to even text him, hey, hold the news a little while. Hold the news a little while, Derek. Don't spill the beans yet. But we've got some really exciting news that we're going to share with you guys tonight. And thank you, everybody, for coming on here, as always, joining in. And thank you guys at Tophat Jigs, both of you. Derek, definitely all the support you give in Crappie Connection through the years. We definitely appreciate it. Love what you guys are doing as well. Matt England, he's always there for me. Anytime I need anything, he's like, man, what can I do to help you out? So definitely want to say appreciation to both of you guys for everything you do for the Crappie Connection. And, I look forward to these kind of events for different sponsors of ours to highlight and showcase what you guys are doing and what you're doing for the fishing world. And, you think of crappie fishing, you think it's some gigantic industry out there. And until you really start getting into it more and more, and you're like, man, it's a small cluster of people that's really making this thing work. And you guys are both part of that thing in my mind that helps the crappie fishing world work. So appreciate that. Just a little tidbit from me right there. But I know it's been exciting times in the crappie fishing world the last 5 or 6 years, and kind of think about pre-live scope, and there was a lot of guys crappie fishing then, and I definitely enjoyed it just as much as I do now. But with the aid of live sonar, it's kind of kicked in even more interest from some other people that didn't have interest in it before. And so it's taken some time for manufacturers to say, hey, let's really look at what's working in crappie fishing with this aid of live sonar and get involved and redefine things and make things better for the fishermen. And I think you guys have done it tonight.
No, you're exactly right, Brad. Just to reiterate there, my dad has been a lifelong crappie fisherman, and he was the old standard, right? He was fishing the spring, starting March and fish till June 1st, and then he hung it up until he got done with harvest, October, November or whatever. And then things like live scope, forward facing sonar came around and some things like that. And then as we got to fish more and more time on the water, we developed and found out what really makes those fish bite. And, that's what we've been working on for the last year. And I think we've hit a home run.
Mm-hmm. It's got Matt on here. I know he's done a lot of protesting and input with this bait design as well. And we're going to talk about how he's utilized them even tonight. But, it takes a while to develop baits, and I've learned that through the years just on my side of things, helping different companies out on design. But kind of tell people how long it actually takes a product to come into, from an idea to actually in a package for people to buy.
This one's going to be almost right at a year.
Yeah.
You know, you start with those ideas, you know, talking to Brad Chappell or Matt England, pro staff, you know, you've got this design, you know, and from my end, once we get the design down, um, you know, I've got some people that'll draw it up for me on the computer, and then you get a mold made, uh, a small mold made, you
Yep.
know, that I can make myself. And so, you know, that time frame takes a couple months in itself. It's, you
Yep.
know, 2 to 3 months, and then time you get that, you know, I got to make them, try to make some different colors, and then I ship them out to Matt, and then I get and the other pro staff, and then I don't know, Matt, how long do you? I mean, we try to give it a pretty good time of fishing. You know, it's just not like Matt's going to go out the first day and said, "Oh, I caught him, Derek. It's good." You know, I
Yep.
mean, you fish with him probably 2 or 3 months,
For
really.
yeah, for sure, 2 or 3 months. And like Derek was talking about with production, it does take a while to see what baits you're going to use, what color combinations you're going to use. So he was shipping me new color combinations as they were being delivered to him. So I was able to fish a lot of them, right off the bat, and they're game changers. It's all about profile, and I think that what Derek has come up with here is very special. And I know right off the hand that, first hand that it's been the bait that saved the day on a lot of guide trips. A lot, I keep having to say it's the top secret Tophat jig. Now we can release it and talk about it, but it has really been a bait that's really, really increased our catch totals. And I'll get into that in a little bit while we're touching that.
Yeah. But, you know, to add to that, Brad, so, you know, after, or the guys watching, after I get feedback from the staff like Matt, this bait in particular, the first run, we made two, we all decided it was a little too small. You know, we wanted to change the size of it. And so then now we're back to the drawing board again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and this round, the second round, it's a little bit easier because you've already got the profile you want. You're just trying to change the shape. And so that's another mold drawn up on the computer, and another mold that's made. And then I got to go through making them all and sending them back out to the staff again. And then once we got the okay on that, you know, it's just like anything else in this country. You know, you can't build things overnight, you know,
Yeah.
and so it takes, it can take anywhere from a month to 3 to get your production mold made. And then once you get your production mold made, you're thrown in the lineup, you know. So it's, I'd say this is the fastest we've worked on a bait, and it's a year. You know, it's pretty tough to get it out much sooner than that.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and spill the beans there, Derek. I know this is your baby here. Let's show it. Let's show it
All
to me.
right. So the new bait, it's not necessarily an original name like the Guppy Gobbler, but it's called the Small Fry.
Mm-hmm.
The small fry is 1.25 inches with a split tail, and I'll show it here in a second. But Brad, you know, and Matt, you know, we've had a lot of people on the original Guppy Gobbler tail with a triangle that one of the profiles they would do is they would cut that little V out of that tail a little bit. And so
Yep. Yep.
we've came up with this small profile bait with a little V in the tail. Yeah, there you go, Matt. There's the bag. We've got let's see. We've got 10 colors. We have teddy bug, white and chartreuse, lemonade, chartreuse, blue pearl, which is like the monkey melt. Brad, there's that old hilltopper.
Oh,
Got
here
that one in there. Lightning bug, black and chartreuse, alien, which is kind of that motor oil, all pearl. Robert Robertson, WSD, if you're watching, we got the old Cinderella, purple haze, and boondocks. And the one thing I'd like to mention about this is, with it being so small, and we'll talk about why we went so small, we came up with a pretty good idea on the packaging. As you guys can see here, the packaging's a little bit smaller, and you can see we've got 12 baits in there, but we have also included 4 1/32 ounce jig heads with a number 6 hook in the package. So you don't have to worry about finding a jig head to fit it.
Mm-hmm.
We've got it in the bag already to go with no keeper. Yeah, there you go, Matt. And there's no keeper on the jig because of its size. You know, some of those big keepers will tear it up.
Yeah.
But that's it. We've been excited. It's been a fish catching machine. That summer bait, it has totally changed crappie fishing in the summer. And, when we started with this last year, we started in the dead of winter too, when those fish are a little lethargic, and it's going to be a great wintertime bait too.
Yeah. I think a small profile and, key times of the year is, like you said, winter, but also these dog days, transitional months. And it was kind of interesting before we even came on here. Matt Lee spoken. He was fishing for a couple fish for 45 minutes. He's got a lot of patience. I can tell that real quick, like with Matt in England there. 45 minutes, 3 fish. I'd have been 6 miles up the lake. But, had so much confidence he could catch them. He stuck with them. And I think that really strikes to me and I think back in the beginning of live sonar and, our choices, we didn't have a lot of choices when it comes to small baits in the whole crappie fishing market at one time. And everybody was just using small hair jigs. And it was a good reason. That's what was working. A smaller profile bait and put it in the face. And like we said earlier, a lot of times these fish are really striking it just to get it out of their space. They want their own little space, or, they want it out of their space, and they're not using a lot of energy. And, so that's where this profile kind of shined in the beginning with hair jigs, in my mind, because it was a small profile and it made such a difference for these guys in the tournament world. And, besides even the tournament world, it made a difference for guides. We used a lot of hair jigs at the time because that was what was easier to get the profile that we wanted and needed because of the aid of live sonar. I have so much confidence in smaller baits than I ever did prior to live scope, live sonar, whatever you want to call it. I know in the beginning I was one that I like big baits, and I think I even said I don't like big baits and I don't deny. Go back to the rap song, but I really like small profiles more than ever, and it just becomes flat out because they work. So I can't wait to everybody's feedback on this. And, we got a deal going. I asked Derek, I said, hey, we're going to introduce this. Let's give a little sugar out there for these guys that can go ahead and play with them and order them some. And I've got the web address up there, Tophat Jigs, straight to, Tophat Jigs there. You try to order some of these, use that discount code, Crappie Connection, flat out, get you 10% off your orders, and you go ahead and give them a shot. I think for me, small profile is a big key in this dog days and this transitional period that we're about to become on the water. But I want to kind of go back and with Matt there, and let's talk about some of the ways that you've been utilizing. We'll start back in the winter, since that's where we're ahead of, and then we'll transition to where you're at now and how you're utilizing there, Matt.
When I first started using the bait, I was wondering, we don't have the darkest of water. I was wondering if they're going to be able to see it. Like it's much smaller than the 1.5-inch guppy gobbler. And with that profile, with that ribbed body down to that cutout tail, that little triangle cutout, it's all about what the crappie feel. They using that lateral line, and with that predaceous nature, they find this bait. It's so exciting. I talk about your hook set increase. It'll really increase once you start using this smaller profile. One, it's going to be harder to get a shorter strike. And two, when we're using that 32nd ounce jig head, when they go to bite that on that inhalation, it's so light, it gets in the back of their throat. And I'm telling you, you need to have your pliers ready when you use these, because you're going to get them. They're in the back of the mouth. And, it's so it's such a good feeling to have good confidence in a bait, especially as a guide where you're having these people, especially on a tougher bite day, we're out there and looking for open water fish, and you just keep that bait just above them, and they're head turners. You know, they're from this position to this, and they just feel it. And then it's just so exciting to be able to announce it. And you know, I'll show you. That's the new one right here. That's a new one out of the bag. I've kept a couple. This one here, I don't know how many fish it caught, but it is just beat up. And there we go. It's just beat up. And I was telling the guys before that, I was just trying to string it on like a worm and just keep it because, you know, I'll fish that bait until it comes off the hook. But how I like to keep those hooks, how I like to keep those baits on that hook is I'll take my super glue, and once I thread a jig on, I'll go ahead and then I'll super glue the head to it. And not only do I do that, I like to have these smaller boxes like these Gamakatsus. Now I always go with about 5 to 7 of every color already done because I don't want to waste time with super glue on the boat. I want to be fishing. So go ahead. If you're going to use super glue on that, get those ready before you get to the lake. It's really been a time saver for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that I've never thought about going ahead and pre-super glue, and you're way ahead of things than I am because I'm a change them on the fly, so fast kind of guy. I never pre-think that, but that's a great tip there. I think a lot of guys that take advantage of that little tip. Now, I want to go back to this wintertime using that 1/32 ounce. And what's the average depth in that wintertime you kind of tested this bait out?
Anywhere from 6 foot and shallower. You know, in the wintertime, you know, like Derek and I, we've got a few spots where we have a really shallow flat with a lot of broke off stumps and shallow timbers. And we find those bigger fish, you know, I know it sounds funny, either right on the stump or just out in the open in the transition. And like we were talking about, keeping that little bait in their space, annoy them, aggravate them, and basically create that bite. You know, get your reaction bite just by keeping that bait, you know, just above their nose. And that's really how we started doing it. And I was wondering how we can transition with this bait being so light and deeper water. And we'll talk about it later. But as we started, you know, there are days that we're fishing in 4 foot of water, but we're only having our fish a foot, 18 inches deep, you know, and having this really small profile at the impact of the water surface, it does not spook a fish, much like a bigger bait on the impact of that surface entry, you know. So, you know, we can't always be exactly quiet going in there, but this is a very quiet bait hitting the top of the water column there at the surface. That way you don't spook those real shallow fish because they're in there for a reason to hunt.
Yeah, you know, and you think about the spooking aspect, and I think a lot of times that if you drop a bait down, especially a bigger style bait, and it drops right in front of them, sometimes it can almost startle them and spook them out. Yeah. And I think of this smaller profile, when a bait kind of comes near them, you know, they think, hey, this mosquito is right here and it's buzzing me right now. Let me kill it. You know, yeah, they're swatting it. You know, they're just, I'm going to kill this little thing and get it out of my space. But I'm definitely a fan of these small profile baits, and I think the small fry is going to be definitely a slab murderer for sure. Derek, are they available yet? That's the big key that probably a lot of people want to know now.
Yep. They are on the website as we speak right now, tophatjigs.com. I've got them listed on there under the small fry, 10 colors. Use the Crappie Connection discount code, 10% off. They're $4.99 on the website. That includes 12 baits and 4 jig heads, and that's every pack. Every pack has got the four jig heads in it. So, you know, and one thing I'd like to add is we kind of talk about the winter bite and this bait in general. You know, Matt's talking keeping it in their nose and stuff like that. One of the first things I realized, I was actually fishing this spot Matt was talking about, and it was kind of that transition time. It was early winter. You know, the what I call that fall bite was almost still kind of going on. And one of my sons and I, Reed, we were actually using the 2-inch guppy gobbler, and we'd go up on those stumps and we were single poling, and we'd see 4 fish down there and we could catch 2, but man, we couldn't get the other 2 to even look at it.
Yeah.
You know, and so we put on. I had a 8-foot casting rod, and I would cast this jig and this small fry past that stump, and I would reel it over it. And just like you said, it was like swatting the fly. We could catch those other 2 fish on the stump in that winter period, you know, the ones that were already transitioned there. And then this summer, I've had a lot of luck, you know, dead sticking or casting, but it's crazy. Like you say that, I mean, it's like swatting flies. And I remember a long time ago, Brad, you and I had a conversation about trying to find the color, right? And if you weren't getting a bait, you weren't getting a bite, you change the color, and then they're kind of nipping at it, and then you change color again, and then you're hooking them in the lip, and then you change color again, and they're choking it.
Yep.
And you know you're right on. And Matt couldn't have said it better. If you're fishing with these, you better have a pair of pliers or a pair of medical scissors handy, because it's crazy. I'm not gonna say it's every time, but man, they sure like to choke this thing.
No, and also it's a number 6 hook right there, you know, so it gets in there and it's going to bury, you know, so it's a, you know, it's so light and so short of a shank that it's going down inside there. And, you know, I can't get my finger around that. So honestly, have your needle nose ready. Have them ready.
And I will say too, guys, I know we're putting a 1/32 ounce with a number 6 hook. Brad, you can maybe talk about hook size in a minute, you know, how it really doesn't matter a whole lot on them big, you know, hooking them fish. But we were in Oklahoma this summer fishing with Seth Haynes and WSD, and Seth and I were casting these, and I actually have put them on a 1/16 ounce jig head, and I have put them on a 1/8 ounce jig head with a big hook. Now they look funny, that small a bait, and I guarantee you're not going to get a short strike on it, you know, but they do work. I mean, they do work on bigger jig heads if you feel like you need to do that. But this number 6 hook, it fits on there good. And I know, Brad, you catch, when people ask about size of fish, Ross Barnett, that number 6 hook, you can catch fish all day long with it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I use as small as 1/64 some days, and you know, like I said, it goes back to what I've learned through the last couple of years with this live sonar is, you know, at first I like really big hooks and I like really big baits, and I wanted to feel that thump, and you know, wanted to really get that aggressive strikes, and that's still an awesome way to catch crappie. Don't get me wrong, and I still love it to today. But on these harder situations, and probably more consistent for me, you know, is these lighter baits. And for me, the downside, and if there is a downside of a smaller bait, and I would say is soft bites. It's a lot of times you don't feel them as much, and the reason why I think that is, it's like if you're taking a bite of food and somebody gives you just a little bitty piece of it, you know, you're not going to sit there and chew it up. You're just going to taste it and probably swallow it. And compared to you have a big bite of food and you've got to sit there and chew it up. Same thing with these baits, and then I think profiles of baits. You know, a bigger bait, they're going to probably hit it harder and you're going to feel it more because they got to kill it. You know, it's a bigger prey for them. So they've got to hit it harder and they've got to chomp down on it harder, at least in my mind. But when it comes to a smaller profile bait, you know, a lot of times they're just going to suck it in, and pretty much in their state of mind is they're just going to digest it because, you know, it's dead on impact pretty much. But, you know, I'm a firm believer, I guess you would say, in these profiles. And, you know, I think the small fry, it sounds delicious to me. I love the name of it, small fry. And I think of McDonald's. I don't know why, but I think it's going to be delicious for crappie as well. And I know you guys have been excited about it. And I definitely appreciate you coming on here tonight and announcing it to the crappie fishing world. And I think right now we got 53 likes. See if we can get to about 60 or so. And we're not going to keep you on here a long time tonight, but we wanted to really showcase this bait and definitely tell Derek, I think you got a good one going here. And, you know, only thing I can say, I can't wait to see you're going to come out with more colors because you're going to have to. People going to say, hey, man, we want some more. We want some more. Fisherman, I know Matt's probably like me. He's a color junkie. He's going to be calling you up, hey, I really like this, and I like it in this color. And Chad Rogers, I see him chiming on here. See, he's got a whole smorgasbord of them right there ready.
Now, that was actually the hardest challenge, Brad.
Cutting it down.
We didn't want to come out with everything at once, right?
Yeah.
We kind of want to start with what we considered, 10 best or 10 colors that would fit this. And that was the hardest discussion we had, wasn't it, Matt? Was figuring out what colors that we wanted to start with. It was a challenge.
Yeah, I can see it would be.
A lot more yeses. Okay, this one too. Well, you got to cut it down. Cut it down. But I've already picked up on the fact that we're catching a lot more black crappie with this smaller bait because the gape in their mouth, the dietary source that they have, the water that we're holding that we're catching them in. We're fishing in 4 to 6 foot of water every day still in August here. So I mean, our lake is starting to come. They released several thousand black crappie last year. We're already seeing benefits of it, and that population was trending upwards anyway. So this fall, it's gonna. I mean, I'm ready for tonight, let alone this fall. Now that it's out, It's fun. I'm going to Decatur this week, and I'm going to drop these babies on them bigger class of fish, and check out the open water fish with that.
Yep. Matt, you said black crappie, and I think I saw dark side crappie or somebody talk about black crappie. And that was another part of this design too, Brad. And you've had many of shows with those guys in Alabama and Georgia and South Carolina, and you talk about those finicky black crappie. I don't know if it's a summertime or a wintertime bait for them. I think it's an everyday bait for those guys to fish those big black crappie. And this was designed for crappie too, guys. But the other thing I'm going to tell you, and I know I've sent Brad and Matt both some pictures here in the last week. This thing is a bluegill catching machine. Red ear, bluegill. I mean, it's just crazy. And the other day when we were fishing I had live scope fishing bluegill, which I know that sounds funny, but we had a pile of them, and it was just like, I don't know. It was like fireflies coming out of the grass in the summer after that thing. It wasn't just one, there'd be multiple of them trying to see who they can get to it first. And it's crazy. It's good. I hope everybody gets on the website and orders some and uses Crappie Connection code.
Yeah, come back here. If you guys have to use it and you've used it for a week or two, come back and comment and show us some pictures of it. This stream will be available on YouTube and also Facebook for a while now, but we'd love to see those success stories. And I always tell people there's nothing that excites me day in and day out when I get an email from somebody or a message and they show, man, I took out my grandson last weekend and we smoked him on this bait or this technique, and that just really drives me to keep doing the Crappie Connection more than you guys realize. So send us those messages, Derek, and tell him the success you have with these different things. I know he'll love it as much as I do.
Yeah, I meant when it's definitely a driver. That's we all have what we call pro staff in this industry, but not everything comes from pro staff. It comes from you guys. The motto you guys have heard me say before. Tophat Jigs is a bait that's made in America for the everyday fisherman to have success. We're not pros. We're not all pros. Not everybody in the world's a pro crappie tournament fisherman. We design baits for you guys, and it helps us build a quality product for it. And then we love to see those success stories too. We love talking about it. I mean, you don't think you can talk about crappie once a week for a year straight? Ask Brad and Dustin. I mean, I remember Brad, you used to thought you're not sure you could have enough topics to talk about, but
I know.
Every Tuesday, I don't get to watch every Tuesday, but there's a lot of times I'm looking and it's 8:05 and you're like, all right, guys, it's been an hour here.
We
gotta get off. But, and then, somebody like Matt, who's pro staff, but he guides for a living, just like you do, Brad, and the joy that Matt gets to see every day with those kids or adults putting fish in the boat, they're learning something. You fish with Matt England, you're not only trying to catch fish, but it's an educational part of it too. And, just trying to help everybody be successful crappie fishermen. And we got to have that feedback from you guys to do that.
like I said, I think you think of the image of the crappie fishing world, and a lot of guys thinks it's just this big deal out there, and there's a lot of it's not as big as we think until you really get into it. And you're like, hey man, this is a small world, and there's a lot of guys that make a big difference in the industry, and everybody has a little key in that, and it's been fun for even me for the last couple of years to see how crappie fishing's grown. And like I said, the bait companies are developing new baits to really, give us what we want as far as fishermen and what we need, I guess you would say. And like I said, I'm so glad that you guys have come out with another new bait. You're doing good and growing. And like I said, I definitely, appreciate it totally from the Crappie Connection, the support of Tophat Jigs and Matt, even all you different guys that watch and comment every week. It's what makes this hamster wheel keep turning every week. And like I said, coming up with topics and different things and relaying and talking with each other. But shoot these guys these messages whenever you get available.
Hey, I see discount code not working. I'll get on that here as soon as I get off. I'll check. But the comment above that, guys, if you see that, that's great. I'm grocery fishing, not trophy fishing. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you guys put fish in the boat.
I'm sure I can. Well, guys, I definitely appreciate your time tonight. It's been fun. I can't wait to do some more stuff with you guys in the future, as always. I know you guys will be at Grizzly Jig in the spring. I look forward to seeing you guys there for sure. And some other events, who knows, we'll see you down the road and live in person. Get to fill out these baits and play with them some more, and just appreciate it.
Yep. No, we appreciate it too, Brad. I know Matt and I kind of got in this ring together, and it's definitely a small family, and you've definitely been a big part in both our lives. I'm not trying to speak for Matt. You've been a big thing for the Crappie Connection. I know when we talked about this was the where we needed to release it. I mean, you're the go-to source for crappie information, and you have definitely pulled everybody in the industry together, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, it's all of us all involved. I mean, that's for sure. And Matt, tell us how your fishing's been up there.
The fishing. We'll get off here. The fishing has been very good here up until today. Today was a little bit different. We had another front come through, change a few things up, but we've been finding hundreds and hundreds of fish on our artificial structure, smaller class of fish, then our bigger fish transitioning in between sets of structure or in the open water. So we've got we can go grocery fishing, and like some of those three fish I was saying that we fished for 42 minutes. None of the three were 13 inches, but for us, that's a really big fish. And when you're looking around, all you see is littler ones, and you get that bigger mark. It's hey, let's catch this fish. And that's the fun. And we were using the small fry. We just stayed in its space, and we just finally got it annoyed enough. And I knew it would eventually react, like you say, swatted a fly. And you just. Eventually it's just going, because it's big enough. The fish is big enough that this little profile is nothing. It's like, okay, I was nice long enough, and now you're gone.
You're part of my diet now.
Yep.
Well, guys, I will see you on Tuesday night. Make sure you look at tophatjigs.com. Use that discount code Crappie Connection. Just Crappie Connection. Use it.
All lowercase. All lowercase, no spaces, Crappie Connection, like Brad's got it there on the bottom of the screen, guys.
And guys, I will holler at you guys later. Until next time, I'll see you guys Tuesday night.
Yep. Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brad.